Hi guys, Constance here. So Mr. Smith and I are actually out running a few errands. Went to the grocery store, went to the auto parts store, and right now Mr. Smith is filling up the gas cans for the mowers because all of this rain that we have had has just been, it's crazy. I mean, I just mowed the garden the other day. You would not even know I mowed. And I hadn't even had a chance to weed eat because it's been storming. Stormed yesterday, stormed the day before that, the day before that. And today it's not storming, but it is miserably, wretchedly hot. Actual temperature is about 97 degrees. The heat index is way over 100. It's awful. I was out there, I think I called it quits about 10:30 this morning because I couldn't take it anymore. It was too hot. So we're running our errands and then we'll go back to the house, and I'm going to show you the tomatoes that I harvested so far today. I'll go out there again this evening when it kind of settles down a little bit, get a little bit more work done, but I will show you the tomatoes that I picked, and I'm going to talk about the tomato varieties. I've had several people asking me about the tomatoes, and so I'm going to talk about that a little bit when we get back. Alright you guys, so I am back. It's actually a little bit later in the day, but it is still 1,000,000 degrees out here. It's just wretched. So like I said earlier, I was out here most of the morning working, harvesting and pruning and tying things up, and you know, we have reached the stage. I mean, look at my tomato plants up there. They are above and beyond the trellis. And so, the questions that I have been getting, I had several people asking me about in regards to tomatoes. Well, actually, first, before I get into that, I do have a little bit of an announcement. So I've kind of been making some changes, and in case you missed the video a while back where I talked about making the gradual change with my YouTube channel, as far as the name goes, the content's staying the same. I've just been doing a slow transition for the name. Originally it was Cosmopolitan Cornbread, the same as my website, but all along I had really wanted that to be the name of our farm, and just decided I should have done it when I first started the channel, but I just decided now's the time. Nope, you know, better late than never, right? And so I kind of did a gradual, I added the A Good Life Farm, and then I swapped the two, so A Good Life Farm was first, and then earlier today I dropped it, and now it's just simply A Good Life Farm. I also changed the URL, the custom URL for it, so that is A Good Life Farm. The subscriptions and all of that stays the same, nothing changes as far as that goes, it just looks a little bit different, that's all. And so then earlier today, or earlier this afternoon, I also made another change. I changed the name of my Instagram account. So if you follow me on Instagram, it is now A Good Life Farm, just like the YouTube channel here. I wanted that cohesiveness between the two.
I made an old man. I said, tell me your story. He took out an old pen and wrote something for me. he kept walking on down the road, and I watched him disappear like smoke. And I thought I'd just seen a ghost. Then I looked down at what he'd wrote. It said, son, when you grow up you'll be fine. I know you've got questions on your mind. Life is gonna happen one way or the other, whether you like it or not. Stop looking for the answers and you'll find what you've got. Searching for glory. I took out an old pen and wrote in my story. Then I kept walking on down the road. When the time is up, it's time to go. I pray he reads what's on the note and takes to heart what I wrote.
You may notice that it is clearly not the same day, and I ended up not talking about tomatoes as expected. I've had quite a week. So the video portion that you just watched was actually filmed in the first half of the week and originally was going to be the Wednesday video, but I started kind of gutting my bedroom as far as purging and organizing and all that stuff and doing a deep clean and cleaning out closets and the whole 9 yards. Well, I don't even know when I got done. Actually, I never even finished my bedroom that day. I just called it quits and went to bed. And so I thought, well, maybe I could get up in the morning and finish and all that. And I was just like, no, we're not going to do that. So I took a day off as far as vlogging goes. So I had filmed the footage that you just saw, and I had gone into the house and continued filming and talked about tomatoes and all of that. Then I filmed another video all about saving tomatoes, freezing tomatoes, you know, coring them, going through the process, why I do it, how I do it, and all of that. Then I filmed a cooking video, a recipe video. It has sweet potatoes and apple and ground beef, and it's just easy and it's just delicious. And I was so excited to share that video with you. You know, a lot of times I will film a video, edit the video, post it the very next day. However, every so often I will get content filmed for at least, you know, a couple of videos, and then I can sit down and I can edit them all and schedule them all. That way I can provide more content for you other than just the Monday, Wednesday, Friday videos that I usually do. And this was one of those days, and I was really excited because I had 3 videos to get out there for you guys. And I sat down last night to edit, and I got the portion that you just saw, brought in the next clip, and there was a problem. There was no audio. And I thought, well, crud. So I put in this little disclaimer, oops, had a mic problem, I'll have to refilm this portion. And I'm like, I'll just save this for later and edit the next video. I had no audio for that one either. And my heart sank. Pulled up the footage clips for the third video, the cooking video. No audio. see, I have a microphone. You can kind of see it in the reflection there, that big poofy ball thing. So the issue is that that microphone has a cord that plugs into the back of the mic and the side of the camera. And if either of those get disconnected, clearly the microphone on top that's added is not going to work. But if the cord that's going into the camera gets unplugged enough, then the mic that's built into the camera will pick up and I could use that audio. The issue was that the cord where it goes into the back of the microphone was unhooked, slightly, ever so slightly unplugged, and it was enough to disengage the microphone on top of the camera, but because it was still plugged into the camera on the other end, it had turned off the built-in camera microphone. And so all of that footage was ruined. And I'm especially disappointed about the recipe video because that was a really good recipe, and I was really excited to share that with you. But I guess as a consolation, I did take photos, and the recipe will be on my website later today. So if you are interested in it, you can check it out. It is a sweet potato hash kind of dinner, super easy, and gosh, it was so good. And I'm really, really looking forward to the leftovers for lunch later today. But let me take a drink. I did want to at least readdress the tomatoes that I was going to talk about had the footage been good. Or I did talk about, well, you know the story. So the question that I had several people asking me about was, what was the difference in the variety of the tomatoes that I'm growing as far as taste goes? Now, here's the thing. If you are a long-time subscriber, you probably know this, but if you are a newer subscriber, you probably don't. I grow all these different kinds of tomatoes. Some of them are for me, some of them are for Mr. Smith. He really likes the black vernissage tomatoes, which are the saladette-sized striped tomatoes, and up until this year, he swore that those tomatoes had the absolute best flavor of any tomato that he has ever tried. Well, this year, I think he may have actually changed his mind, and I think now it is the yellow pear tomatoes, which I had picked up that tomato start from the farm supply store in Coleman, Alabama, back when we had our frozen tomato plant escapade. And so I had picked that one up, and he really, really likes those. Those are not ones I've ever bought seeds for, but because I am growing them this year, I am going to save some of the seeds out of those tomatoes. They are very, very tiny seeds, so hopefully I don't have too much of a trouble getting them out, but I will share the process of saving the tomato seeds with all of you later on. So the black vernissage are for Mr. Smith because, like I said, he really liked them. But the vast majority of the tomatoes that I grow are for me, but maybe not in the way that you would think. You know, people ask me what variety of the tomatoes are the best tasting, and my answer may surprise you because I don't know. Because I don't eat them. I know that sounds absolutely crazy. I do eat tomato things. Well, the reason I grow different varieties is because I like having, frankly, I like the different colors and shapes and sizes and all of that out here in the garden. But also, you know, one year one variety may struggle and others may do better. Whereas if I grow all of the same kind and that variety is going to struggle that year, well, then that's not really great for my my harvest as far as tomatoes goes. The tomatoes that I grow for me to use, I make salsa, I make tomato sauce, marinara, all the other tomato things. But you will never see me take a slice of tomato and put it on a sandwich like Mr. Smith does, or grab a cherry tomato or saladette tomato and pop it into my mouth like Mr. Smith does, because I cannot stand raw tomatoes. Now, when I was a little girl, I loved them. I mean, like really, really little. I remember when I was about 4 years old, my mom making BLTs one weekend for brunch, and I had eaten almost all of the tomato slices on the plate before my mom and dad could actually get to the table. I was waiting when she put the plate on the table, and so she had to slice up another tomato. You know, I used to love them when I was little, absolutely loved them, and then something changed. And you know, it's funny how your tastes do that. You know, there might be things when you were little that you hated, but then you love it as an adult, or things that you loved as a child and you hate it as an adult. And in my situation, it is tomatoes. It's two things for me. I do actually like the flavor of tomatoes, or I wouldn't eat tomato sauce and things like that. I think for me it is, well, I know it is. It's two things. Number one, it's texture. If I am eating soup and it's got diced tomatoes in it, like stewed tomatoes or something like that, they've got to be cooked down really well. Because if they're not, and I'm eating my soup and I come across a really big chunk of tomato, I'm picking it out because it's the texture for me. And then the other thing, as far as the raw tomatoes goes, I think really is the acidity. I just cannot, it gets me in the back of the jaw, and I just can't do it. Now, I will say that the first year that I grew the Dr. Weish tomatoes, or Dr. Witchies, however you want to pronounce it, I actually looked it up to see which was the correct pronunciation, and they both come up as correct. So it just depends on where you're from, how you pronounce it. I had read that they were a very, very low acidity type of tomato. And that kind of displayed itself when a friend of mine who was having some health issues and was having really hard times, a really hard time eating foods that were acidic, and loves tomatoes but couldn't eat any, she tried one of the Dr. Weish tomatoes, and she was able to eat it. It was the only kind of tomato that she could eat. So that kind of, you know, showed it there. Well, that first year when I grew them, I did actually cut off a piece of the Dr. Weish tomatoes. And one of the reasons I like the Dr. Weish is, number one, the size. They are big, abundant tomatoes. And the biggest one that I have ever grown was 29 ounces. 29 ounces, one tomato. But also when you slice into a tomato, you have the meaty portion, and then you have that kind of gelatinous seedy area. With the Dr. Weish, that seedy gel is very low. There's not a lot of it, and it's more of a meaty tomato. So you get more tomato and less stuff. But I cut off a little tiny piece, seriously about the size of my fingernail, like a square centimeter. And I'm like, okay, people say if you don't like tomatoes, you'll like the Dr. Weish because of the low acidity, da 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 da. And so I cut off a piece, and I had it sitting there on the cutting board, and I'm not exaggerating, I probably sat there for like 5 minutes getting up the courage to put that thing in my mouth, because that is how much of an aversion I have to the texture and all of that of raw tomatoes. So I ate it, and I didn't die. It was okay. I wasn't like repulsed by it to where I had to spit it out. It definitely was, I mean, it had a great flavor, and it was a rather low acidity, but I still don't see myself putting a slice of a tomato on my sandwich. But Mr. Smith loves them, so, and I like how well they produce, and I like making salsa and sauces and everything else out of them. So originally I had planned on sharing that farm tour with the local farm with all of you here on Friday, but with the kind of a week that I have had and just everything's gotten a little bit behind, I've been spending a ton of time out in the garden playing catch up, trying to, because you know, we had all of these storms, and of course now the humidity is so miserable. I mean, even right now I'm just like I've got like a sheen on me from the humidity. It's been difficult, but I've been trying, and so, you know, I'm a little bit behind on everything, so I will plan for that video going up early next week instead. I haven't even begun editing it, to be honest, and there's a lot of footage to go through, so I'm going to need probably a whole day to work on that video. And be sure to check out that recipe that's going to go live today on my website, cosmopolitancornbread.com. I think you'll really like it, and I'm still, you know, disappointed on the whole footage fiasco, but such is life, you know, YouTuber problems. So that's it for today. Thanks for hanging out with me here again at the homestead. I will talk to y'all next time.